listening to them, right? Nigel Farage throws Tommy Robinson under the bus, and all assets attack Elon Musk. Is Elon Musk fighting Mr. Global, or is he fighting for Mr. Global? And I had a tweet, and it was kind of a linchpin, I guess. I can't find it now. There's a whole bunch of tweets out there that speculate that Elon Musk is on board with the globalist agenda. Maybe I'll grab one of them. And I think there's an argument to be made about that. It's interesting, though, because you have to, in every seemingly good guy, there's a lurking bad guy. Elon Musk is no different. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, in order to understand where we are, we have to understand where we were. And where we were was a high trust society with a functioning economy and all sorts of benefits to the citizenry, with rights and all sorts of recognized benefits. Benefits isn't the right word, but, a great society. And you can't take a great society and say, we're going to turn off air travel. We're going to turn off car travel. We're going to turn off everything. And you're just going to go along with it. Okay. You'd say, I don't think so. And you'd fight back. But if instead they change the composition of the population, then they're not asking you. It just happens. I've mentioned this before. You can't really get a communist society from a successful, thriving capitalistic society. So they have to change it. And the only way to change it, you won't change it by them asking you or even them telling you. The only thing that will change it is conflict and chaos. So they bring order from chaos. So that is why we're being invaded. That is why we have a lot of people flooding our countries in the West, because without that, they can't go to the next step of their plan. And we're watching the UK transition to the next step, which is all-out chaos. And then what happens? We can fix the chaos with a digital ID. So here's these two talking about this. Then we'll talk about Elon Musk and how, is he deep state or is he not? I really can't tell. Here are these two.
And that's the essence of globalism, which you've just described.
Exactly. That's the essence of globalism. So,
but remember what globalism wants. It wants an obedient, sedated consumer population.
Yes, exactly.
So how do you get that? Well, you have to change the character, the composition, the culture of the core populations.
Yes.
You can't really change them, so you flood them with people who are radically different from them.
Yeah, and you dismantle the different kinds of communities, the local communities. Hannah Arendt calls it the atomization. The atomization of society is also a preparation for a new totalitarian structure.
But remember, it was very seductive in the 90s. It was seductive under Reagan. Reagan is the president that announced amnesty for millions from Mexico. And everybody said, don't do this. Millions more will come. He said, oh, no, this is a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Well, this played into the hands of the so-called globalists. They want to be able to rule without interruption.
But this is your vision on what goes on right now.
Well, what's happening now, though, and I think it's happening in Europe, at least the recent EU elections would suggest it, and I think it's very strong here in the United States, is there's a backlash. The proverbial frog now realizes the water is boiling.
Yeah.
And has decided he wants to jump out.
Yeah.
We always talk about the boiling frog. And what happened all through the 80s and the 90s was that the heat was gradually turned up internally on the frog. And the frog swam, comfortably. Now, what does that mean? It means that if you said to somebody, I'm really uncomfortable with what's happening with immigration. Have you looked at the people that are being invited to come into the United States? Do you understand what chain migration means? We're getting people from all over the world, none of whom have anything in common with us, culture. Oh, you're a racist. No, I don't want to be a racist. Well, you're a racist if you object.
But they always said, of course,
that's wrong.
So it's simultaneously something that moves their ideology forward, moves the game that they're playing forward, and stifles and silences the target population, right? The replacement population, or the target population to be replaced. And that's what we're seeing play out. Elon Musk is not being silent about this. He says civil war is inevitable, and he's responding to what's going on in England. And other people have been getting upset, in fact, losing their minds. Entire talk shows have been based on just this tweet. Tom Quiggin says this post by Elon Musk has caused the Prime Minister of the UK to respond along with others. This post is causing controversy for a variety of reasons, including Musk might be right. The UK is facing massive internal problems, and widespread civic violence is a real probability. 2, Musk runs a social media platform that is mostly a free speech platform. Leaders such as UK Prime Minister Starmer, Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau, US Prime Minister Biden Harris hate free speech as it exposes their agenda and corruption. 3, Starmer has made it clear, like Trudeau and Biden, that he will spend money to support illegal migrants at the cost of the Brits who were born there. 4, the US, UK, and Canadian citizens and subjects are facing massive tax increases and lifestyle declines to support illegal migration. They are being taxed to fund their replacements. 5, illegal migrants are being given voting rights. 6, two-tier policing is a real concern. Rape is okay, but praying in public can get you arrested. Right, and I've got an example of all of that through this series of tabs. So is Musk pointing out something correctly and poking the eye of the globalists who are trying to institute it? Or is Musk spurring on the chaos so that order can be derived from it? You know what I'm saying? Like, is he an accelerationist pushing this because he's actually behind the agenda? I really don't know. I'm honestly asking. Dan says the idea that Britain is a powder keg because of its diversity is in itself stunningly racist. Millions of us live in diverse families bound by ties of love and respect that are as combustible as granite. Millions of us have deep and abiding friendships, professional relationships with people whose bodies produce different levels of melanin, so different colored skin. Using your time on this earth to wish that powder keg into being is deeply sad. So Dan is somebody who is ideologically aligned with Starmer and the New Age communists, the Rainbow communists, if you will, and he's a creative director at the world's best history channel. Oh yes, he's a globalist, absolutely 100%. So, and I said, "Are you kidding? Like, this is where we're at in the UK." And I'm going to come back to this later because we're going to talk about crime, and it bears mentioning multiple times. But this is where we're at in the UK, and this guy is saying, "How dare Elon Musk notice? The noticing must stop." Right? Posted racist, quote, racist comments on Facebook. He got 15 weeks in jail. Sold anti-immigration stickers, 24 months, 2 years in prison. You can't do that. Stickers? You are going to jail, sir. And repeatedly raped a 12-year-old girl, 180 hours community service, no prison time. I wish I was kidding, right? But people like Dan, the communists like Dan, are saying, how dare you notice this? This is very uncomfortable for us to be defending, so stop noticing, right? Elon Musk again says, arrested for making comments on Facebook. Is this Britain or the Soviet Union? Is this accurate? Community notes. And he's responding to Vigilant Fox. I showed you this footage yesterday of the woman standing with her hands in her pockets saying, "You're under arrest, eh?" And that's not the way you do that. Regardless, the fact that people are being arrested for posting on Facebook because their government is using their tax dollars to fund an ongoing invasion, pretty incredible. We live in very interesting times, and that's not a compliment. Elon Musk again says, why aren't all communities protected in Britain? Andy No says, just in Birmingham, England, August 5th, armed Muslim patrol members surrounded and attacked a pub after marching around the area looking for white right-wingers to attack. The rumored far-right protesters never materialized. The Muslim rioters attacked journalists and slashed up the vehicles of the Sky News team. The police, WM police, said that they had a well-rehearsed plan in place to deal with right-wing protests, but they did not show up to the group of around 300 Muslims who mobilized for direct action. And I'll tell you why. Hold on a second. They didn't show up to the 300 armed Muslim men because those men were community policing themselves. And the police have a really tight relationship with these Muslim men who are policing themselves with clubs and swords and things, and who are intimidating regular people in pubs and things we can't show up there because they're self-policing, you see. Here's Sky News, and James is responding to this clip from Sky News that I'll show you in a second, but he says, this is clear admission of two-tier policing from the police. It is terrifying to hear a police officer admit it. He says they had discussions with self-appointed community leaders who said they wanted to just police themselves. Allowing this is the end of the rule of law. Don't worry, they're self-policing. Oh, well, it appears in their self-policing they're allowed to assault you. I guess we'll deal with that later. Here's the officer.
Why was there such a low-key, should we say, police presence? Because, I mean, clearly your officers were there, but they were not visible, and yet there were an awful lot of people out and an awful lot of people who were armed with various weapons.
So we have really strong business and community relations, and because we were aware through intelligence that there was a potential protest through that misinformation yesterday, we had the opportunity to meet with community leaders, with business leaders prior to that event to kind of understand the style of policing that we needed to deliver during the course of that operation. So we knew that there was going to be a large amount of people out on that counter-protest. We knew who the vast majority of those people were. We'd had conversations in terms of what that was likely to look like. And so our policing response was commensurate to that intelligence and the information that we'd held with our partners and communities prior to that event taking place.
Even given there were so many of them clearly armed, I mean, would you do the same if it was an EDL type situation?
So we've policed in response to the intelligence that we received at that moment in time. What I would say is that the vast majority of people that attended that protest yesterday did so law-abidingly, and they did it with the right intentions. There were just a small minority of people that attended there and were intent on causing either criminality, disorder or fear within our communities. What we saw was a response from our communities where they were trying to kind of make sure that that was policed within themselves as well, and trying to deter people from taking part in that disorder. And as a result, we've been able to go on, gather that evidence, gather that information. We have made arrests. Well, we've made an arrest this afternoon. We continue to try and make arrests in terms of those people that were involved in those disorders yesterday.
They're arresting elderly British people. That's who they're arresting. It has absolutely nothing at all to do with keeping order or preventing gangs of armed Muslim men from intimidating people. It has everything to do with stopping the native-born Brits from saying anything about the ongoing invasion and the handing over of their country to the third world, it seems. Elon Musk, just to finish off this Elon Musk thing, Jackson Hinkle says, Elon Musk is the deep state. He supports the CIA-backed terrorist in Venezuela. He defends the Israeli genocide on Gaza. Provides Ukrainian Nazis, Azov, with substantial support against Russia. Backed coups in Bolivia. Supports Malay's IMF prostitution in Argentina. So the tweet that I saw, and I'd seen a tweet earlier talking about how Elon Musk was actually deep state, actually Mr. Global, and they were using examples just recently of his response to this England thing, talking about how this helps the deep state. It doesn't hinder them. It just helps them. It moves their agenda forward. And I thought there's an argument to be made. There's this list is inexhaustive. There's more to this list, obviously, and I don't agree with everything on it necessarily. I'm just saying that, yeah, he did do those things, right? He put up Starlink to help Ukraine. He defends Israeli genocide on the whole Gaza thing. But again, all of that is a psyop. It is all something to distract us. It is all something for everyone involved to play emotions and wedge people. So I've been not touching that story with a 10-foot pole, because it's not real is not the right term. It is meant to wedge. It is meant to drive emotional disagreements. It is meant to catch you up. It is meant to keep you in a wizard circle. And I'm just not going to do it. It's not going to happen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that it's interesting, even just looking at what he's done, what Elon Musk has done with the UK stuff. Is he deep state? There's questions. An argument could be made. Paul Joseph Watson says, mimicking a policy that the West once condemned communist China for pursuing, authoritarians are now calling for X to be shut down completely in the United Kingdom to stop civil unrest. Elon Musk is the problem. X is the problem. I think they doth protest too much. I think there's it feels like shadowboxing. It doesn't feel right. There's something weird about it. Talk TV is talking about how, Cobra. So yesterday I was like, what is Cobra? Cobra is the meeting rooms, Cobra Room A, like the coordinated something meeting room A. And that's what Cobra is. But I still think the acronym is very sinister. Like they're the real bad guys in G.I. Joe. So yeah, let's have the Cobra meeting. I love that. Talk TV says, former labor advisor Matthew Laza says, Elon Musk's claim that a civil war is inevitable in the UK is absolutely disgraceful. It's completely inappropriate. He's not based in Britain and he doesn't know what he's talking about. So they're trying to diminish Elon Musk's weighing in on this. And again, I don't know what to make of all of this, but these guys are not honest either. Here we go.
Like Elon Musk, for example, saying civil war is inevitable. What's your reaction to that?
I think that's absolutely disgraceful, and it just shows, again, how irresponsible Elon Musk is. I mean, anybody who thought that a scepticism about him was unfounded is obviously, it's completely inappropriate. He's not based in Britain. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's talking through his hat and he needs to concentrate on his Tesla share price.
I think it says a lot about how the UK is being perceived internationally at the moment. Remember, this is our country on portray globally. And if Elon Musk, for whatever reasons, views it like that, there'll be other people who do too.
We also have people from Malaysia, Australia. There are a number of countries where they're issuing travel warnings about people coming.
The world is watching. What we need to see is this got a grip of, we need to get people off of the streets, calm tensions down, and make sure that we get back. And I fully agree with what you said earlier on. Let's remember the police are the ones who are running into danger when everyone else is running out, so we need to support them.
No, the police are running away too. It depends. If it's British people, the police will come in with the riot gear and they will push them over and they will assault them. But if it's Muslim people saying Allah Akbar, they will run away. You understand? They will let those people community police. That's the whole idea, right? Kaligi says, why the heck did the police ever start coordinating their efforts via unelected community leaders? Absurd policy. How do people find out who their community leader is? Is there a how did they vote equivalent? Or how did they get assigned as a community leader at birth? Do I have a community leader? So they're changing the way things work from from rule of law, we are all governed by the same law, to those people who are self-policing right now. Thanks. Right? And by self-policing, we mean they heard rumors about right-wing mobs out to attack Muslims, and so they became a mob out to attack white people. And that's okay? It's not okay. Obviously not. And Wokeness says, in a nutshell, mostly peaceful protest. The Black Lives Matter guy with the sign, with the flag and the Molotov cocktail. Mostly peaceful protest, or diversity is our strength. We've got the Palestinian guy with the club and all that, and far-right terrorist. And it says, save our children on the t-shirt with a British flag, right? We see what's going on here. The memes get it. Our leadership are the ones who are delivering it. Tommy Robbins says most of these far-right protests that you're reading are planned, are fake. It's being done to get Muslims out in the street to cause carnage, and the government say they're against it. But I actually believe they're encouraging it. They stand down the police and allow violence to hit the streets. Then in response, they will bring in draconian laws and powers to limit our speech. The whole time they orchestrate this total shit show, they blame me. They will want control of X and they will want me silenced. Yeah, they're calling for that. That's exactly what they're calling for. And I've got a tab in later in this series to highlight that. Mark Wallace says, organized and violent extremism targeting the defense sector in this country should be big news. Palestine action attackers allegedly rammed a building with a vehicle, assault police officers with a sledgehammer, and were arrested with axes, whips, and other homemade weapons. So BBC Bristol says a vehicle that was used to ram the entrance of defense technology firm Elbit Systems in Patchway shortly before 4 a.m. During the incident, 2 officers were assaulted with a sledgehammer, details here. So officers in hospital after being hit with a sledgehammer. That's crazy, right? Like that's a pretty crazy town. And so what's happening? What's happening is chaos, right? And they are going to try and bring order from chaos. And this is again, so this is again, I went off on a bit of a tangent, but Elon Musk said, why aren't all communities protected in Britain? And this is the video footage of a Muslim mob surrounding people in Birmingham. And then Elon Musk uses two-tier Kier and as a hashtag, and the hashtag is trending, and Andy No explains. The two-tier Kier hashtag refers to a growing perception of increased two-tier policing under the new British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. In the last few weeks, there have been violent public disorder in England, split separately largely between immigrants or native communities. Police were observed retreating from the Hare Hills migrant riots and not responding to the Muslim attacks on a Rochdale police station. So completely lost control? I don't know about completely lost control, but yeah, on the way. Unity News says in just 4 weeks he has lost control. In 4 weeks he's alienated tens of millions of people in this country. In 4 weeks he has created a standing army to patrol the streets. Imagine what he could do in 4 months. Starmer must go now. So they're trying to get Starmer gone. This is a very interesting interview. This woman was arrested. She was arrested.
And he was so sweet all the way. He kept saying.
She was arrested in the riots. She's a native-born British woman, elderly, like she's older than me. So I'm not saying elderly like old, but on the other side of, I'm going to say other side of 45 and just leave it there. But fundamentally, she was arrested and she was in shock she said she didn't talk for 13 hours. The thing that I want you to hear here is that she says the police detective who was so nice in driving her home said, we have to charge you with something. So we're going to charge you with the minimum. And she's like, what? I don't even know. I don't even know why I was in the prison. I don't know why I was arrested. Nobody told her. She didn't know what crime she committed. And she spent a night in jail. And they're saying, well, we've arrested you and we're going to have to put something on the list there for why we arrested you. So we're going to charge you with something. But don't worry, love. We'll get you home. Right. And so it's such an odd thing, but this is what this is what they're trying to do. This is what they're trying to turn our country into. You're not allowed to say anything for fear of crazy people accusing you of whatever, and then somebody arresting you for what you've written online. Or if you show up to protest the invasion of your country, you're coming with us. Crime to be determined later, right? How dare you show up to this protest? That was your crime. Here we go.
We're going to get those people, who did that yesterday. And I was like, I'm not really bothered about that. I was just thinking about what's happening to me. And I'm sure you will. But that's your job. I'm not going to start screaming and shouting because you haven't arrested them. You don't need to reassure me. It's not going to make any difference to my life. And all the way he kept saying, turning around at the traffic lights, and he kept saying, are you okay? I just couldn't speak. Just kept nodding and looking out at the window. Just couldn't speak. The man who was so sweet, this policeman, he said, the thing is, we've got to charge you with something. So we're going to charge you with the minimum. I was like, charge me with what? I don't even know what I'm supposed to have done. We've got to charge you with something because we've made an arrest. And an offence has been committed. I was thinking, what offence? I really don't know what offence there was. I don't know what I was charged with. I really don't. I just know it's obviously something to do with race because I've got to do 2 hours racial awareness course.
She's done a night in jail. She's been charged with a crime. She can't name. She doesn't know what it is that she's been charged with. She's been convicted of said crime, and she has to do community training. There are no Miranda rights in the United States. I think that I'd be suing all of the people who did this to me. I don't think so. And it's expensive to do that. And it causes other problems. You know what I'm saying? You have to live in the community with the people that you're suing and hope that they ignore that and don't target you for, your car's improperly parked. You looked at me sideways. You're going to jail. You know what I'm saying? They're going to make life difficult. But it's interesting that this woman was just kind of kidnapped by the police and then told, well, we kidnapped you, so we've got to charge you with something because we did that. Ryan Garrettson says the media in Canada is basically covering up what's happening in the United Kingdom. And when they do report it, they're changing the narrative. This is footage of, sorry, it's quite loud. I'm not going to play anymore. There's footage. There's police officers here, mounted police officers, and then protesters and the police officers on the other side. And it seems like they're kettling these guys. So it's the tactics they're using are tactics they use against terrorists. So, and I don't think that necessarily they're using them against the invading people. They're using them against the people who are protesting against the invading people. The invading people are fine, upstanding people with clubs and knives, right? You're not allowed to question them. Trina says Tasha K is writing a column in the National Post, and they say liberal immigration policy risks turning Canada into a terrorist haven. too late. Like, these guys were arrested. They had plans for a machete hacking, slashing attack in downtown Toronto, maybe. They were arrested in a hotel, and they had plans drawn up and a video done. So the attack was imminent, and pretty wild stuff. It risks, I think it already has turned Canada into that, and to fix it is going to be really freaking problematic, really hard. Gareth is responding to Fraser. Fraser is a reporter, and he's shocked. He's what is he? LBC News, British Journalist Award winner 2020. So he was a good little soldier reporting on COVID. Clap at the sky. He says the funny part here is the armed Muslim men are not the people he has a problem with, even though they're the people who chased him. The people he has a problem with are the alt-right who didn't show up this time. What is happening on the streets of Britain, he says, is causing real tensions among communities. As a reporter, I've just been chased out of an area east of East Bellingham by groups of Asian men who had come out to protect their community against a planned far-right demonstration. The security guard with me decided immediately it wasn't safe for us. It was clear we weren't welcome, but there wasn't a safe place for us to go for miles. Cars followed us. We had abuse shouted at us, and at one point a group of around 6 men ran after us down a road with what looked like a weapon. We were forced to run. The far right didn't appear to show up, but the community here was on an edge waiting and ready for them. They were all on all corners of a roundabout and lined the roads and surrounded it. We were warned that we'd regret it if we hung around. We're safe now. So the problem here is the far right, not the people lining the road with weapons, threatening you for being in an area of Britain that you really should be allowed to go to. So there's no-go zones in Britain. This guy is an idiot. What an idiot. Gareth says a civil war is being paved, and I'm sure the answer to the question, why are so many fighting-age men crossing the channel, will become crystal clear. I can't believe that the government is just fine with migrants crossing in with all this happening. How is the population, the public, allowing the government to be okay with this? Everybody seems like it's an obvious bad idea. Like really, really a bad idea. And it seems like the public knows it's a bad idea. And it doesn't seem like,
as Elon Musk has predicted,
anybody has the ability to stop it at all. So that's pretty crazy, right? Just like the drug policy that, Canada's paying for safe supply or not some nonsense. And it is nonsense, by the way. But we can't stop this bad policy. Like, the policy took heroin overdoses that were at 4 and 8 in 2006 and 2010. Off the top of my head, it may be off by 1 or 2. And then in 2014, 2015, 2016, it started going a little bit higher, 10, 12, 15. And then by the time 2018 hit and we had to get the safe injection sites, it doubled the overdose deaths, 25, 26, 27. Okay? And when you put an intervention in to reduce harm or reduce deaths of whatever, and the opposite happens, usually what happens is the program gets scrapped, but all that happened is we spent more money on drugs for addicts. So that's crazy. It's crazy. We don't stop bad policies. We just get invaded and dumbed down through drugs and other means. What are they spraying in the skies? Here's Talk TV again. Benedict Spence says rioters shouldn't be labeled as terrorists, but instead be perceived as criminals using the existing laws. You don't want to glorify this, make them martyrs to a cause, or create a situation where they think they're at war with the deep state. Oh, they're at war with the deep state. That's exactly what's going on. Nigel Farage throws Tommy Robinson under the bus in this one. It's within a minute, so we'll play it. He says, we can't be doing this. We can't be doing this stuff. Now, I don't agree with arson where people are in the building. That's an awful, terrible thing. Arson is violence all the time, right? All the time. I don't agree with violence. But it's really super interesting that Nigel Farage, and I mean, like, okay, maybe he's covering his bases here, and et cetera, but the Tommy Robinson throwing under the bus is an extra added flourish, which seems strange. But it seems like everybody and his dog are saying, what you Brits are doing to respond to this invasion that we've orchestrated here is really mean. And they're not talking about the other side very much. Now, I listened to the whole thing in like double time. Oh, no, I didn't. I only listened to 4 minutes. So I don't know. Maybe Farage talks about that at the other end, but I doubt it. Here is Nigel Farage.
That we haven't seen for a very long time. Yes, we had the riots in 2011, which were
exercises in mass looting, but this is very, very different, let's be clear. Thugs setting fire to hotels, migrant hotels with people in them, is just wrong at every level. I understand the frustrations, I understand the anger that is felt by huge numbers of people, but I do not support street protest, violence or thuggery in any way. And that's why for 30 years I've fought elections, because I believe that democracy is the peaceful way to solve problems. And as for the Tommy Robinsons and those that genuinely do stir up hatred, well, I've never had anything to do with them. In fact, I was the one person above all that got rid of the BNP as an electoral threat. So as for what is being said by the Anna Soubries of this world, the Andy McDonalds from Labour of this world, the accusation that somehow I'm orchestrating these riots, nothing, but nothing could be further from the truth. We've even got national broadcasters like James O'Brien calling them the Farage riots. This is unfair, untrue, and actually it's directly inciting violence.
That's the point. That's what they want to accomplish with all that. Yes. Here's a street preacher being arrested in Britain, just for good measure.
Christ is Lord, he died for our sins. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten. Christ is Lord, he died for our sins.
So there you go. You can't do that, apparently, in England. But what you can do is repeatedly rape a 12-year-old girl and you get 180 hours community time, right? That's pretty wild. So that's the pattern they're going to be following. That's the plan, the foundation, the blueprint, whatever you want to call it, that they're going to follow here as well. They're going to try and vilify the citizens who are concerned about the mass invasion. And they're going to say you're criminals, and they're going to try and throw you in jail and justify it post hoc after the fact, right? That's what's happening. And saying this is wrong isn't going to stop it. So we should have a strategy. Or I guess we're going to just kind of suffer through it just like the Brits are, right? And like we don't have a strategy to counter the invasion. We don't have a strategy to even start stopping the invasion. So we're doing a terrible job so far, and I don't expect it to get better. And like, I hope I'm wrong, but we can't even name the problem. If you name the problem, you play into the globalist hands because they'll say that's racist, don't you know? So, Wiretap Media says, let's move on to censorship. He says, the Online Harms Act is a direct attack on freedom of expression. If Canadians were wise, they would start beating the drums of war now before it's too late. It's like, guys, did you notice the lockdowns, the economic war that's going on right now? Did you notice the people in England who have gangs of roving armed Muslims saying the alt-right is the real problem? Reality is not going to catch up to these people. Like, the only thing that can happen, the only way that we derail this is we take away the power from these people. That's it. And they're not going to give up their power easy because they think they've got power right now. So Northants Police says Northamptonshire Police had received reports of a hate crime regarding a post published on social media. In response, a 41-year-old woman from Northampton has been arrested on suspicion of inciting racial hatred and remains in police custody. So, yikes. Yikes. Gord says the Freedom of Information request shows that the U.S. Department of Homeland Security were working with big tech in an attempt to censor the Freedom Convoy on social media. Shocking. Shocking. This tracks with Buttigieg and Biden working with Trudeau and Freeland to get Windsor opened up. There was a meeting where Trudeau indicated to Joe Biden that, quote, he had a plan, which probably included the setup of the Coots men. So there's evidence via a Freedom of Information request that the United States and Canada were coordinating to silence their citizens, censor their citizens' online speech for supporting the convoy. And none of that seems to be a problem for anybody, right? In fact, the problem is the noticing. How dare you notice these things that we're doing to you, right? Stop noticing. I don't trust this Linda Iacchino or Carino or whatever her name is. And she's talking about how she's going to sue GWARP or something like that. GWAR, what are they called? GARM. And GARM is supposed to be this trust and safety building thing, like a censorship AI that flags posts that are not supposed to be big, so on and so forth. And so she's saying, I'll let her say it. Hold on, here we go.
I was shocked by the evidence uncovered by the House Judiciary Committee that a group of companies organized a systematic illegal boycott against X. It is just wrong. And that is why we are taking action. Today, we filed an antitrust lawsuit against the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, 4 of its key members, and the World Federation of Advertisers. These organizations targeted our company and you, our users. The evidence and facts are on our side. They conspired to boycott X, which threatens our ability to thrive in the future. That puts your global town square, the one place that you can express yourself freely and openly, at long-term risk.
I don't trust her. I don't trust her at all. She's sneaky, and she's trying to frame this one way. And the reality is, I think something different. Having companies coordinate to not trade with another company is not good, especially when they're trying to shut down the company that is claiming to be for free speech. But I mean, like, I am censored on that platform, period. I am censored on that platform. My videos get buried. The video management on that platform is awful, by the way. But like, there's censorship. It's rampant. If you don't have to look far or hard for it. It's rampant. It's there. And if she's saying we're going after these people because they're going after you, I feel like there's another vector of attack that we're not privy to, we're not aware of. So Eva says, you can really see and hear the righteous anger in Linda's eyes and voice as she addresses the illegal and systemic boycotting by advertisers against X. She knows what's at stake, she sees the bigger picture, and is ready to fight for our right to express ourselves freely. But she doesn't represent that. Like, she represents a kind of watered down version on X, where there are people who check and balance the whole deal. And so it's interesting. It's just interesting that it's this lesser battle, like free speech, sure, but also this modified version of free speech on the, the public town square, because, we have to have that. It's either free or it's not. And when people say egregious, awful, terrible things, they should probably be allowed to say them and expose themselves, and we shouldn't censor that stuff, right? And if it's a good idea, if that formerly thing that seemed unthinkable becomes thinkable and maybe a good idea, isn't that how evolution happens, right? But instead, we've got X and their finger on the scale, and the guar, or whatever, it's not guar, the, what did she call it? GARM, right? And this guy highlights it here. It's very weird that, as far as I know, they're partnering with GARM and use the GARM AI to categorize accounts as being safe or not safe for advertisers. So are they pulling the plug on the coordinating with GARM, including no longer using their GARM AI system, or what? So the whole thing is weird. It's very strange. I don't trust her or it, and I think that people should take it with the proper amount of skepticism. Hello everyone, thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful